boy, this is going to be tough, but this is a huge announcement. Something that is, I have to say, and it's taken me a long time to think about, at least 3 to 4 minutes. I was thinking about this, and I just have to make this decision and get it out there. It's going to affect a lot of NFL draft, and people are going to be pissed and everything like that. I totally get it, and I want to be straightforward with you guys on this. But after a long and tough decision,
I have decided I am going to take my appetite to the Outback Steakhouse.
oh man, let's go. What's cool and what's going on? I've taken my appetite to the Outback Steakhouse. No, I've taken my appetite to the NFL draft, is what we got today for a mock draft. It's going to be 1 round. Maybe we'll sneak in a few trades out there. This week was insane. Just like the announcement I had to have right there. I had to get real serious. I'm trying to work on my acting skills, clearly, but they're not that good. I think this week in the NFL was one in the history books where, I mean, the amount of blocked field goals, kick returns, crazy plays, it's just something that I've never really seen before in all my years watching football. I want to also give a shout out, MVP of the week, no doubt, Isaiah Rodgers. That was a Lawrence Taylor level of Ironman, put the team on your back and single-handedly deliver a win sort of situation. I know that they really dominated that game, but he put like, that was the best performance that I think I've ever witnessed watching a football game. Incredible. The dude, what did he have? Like 2 interceptions, a pick six. He had a scoop and score. He had another fumble that he caused. He had multiple fumbles. He had at least 1 PBU I saw at a breakup in the end zone. Like, the dude was a monster. So that was insane. This week overall was crazy. We're going to talk more about this when we talk into the mock draft, like with each team. Let's get into it here. This is the draft order. It's what I've made. It's just what I see each week, and I try to rank teams. I do change it up just to change it up and stuff like that, but I try to rank teams with where I think they're at right now as a football team. So let's go ahead and enter the draft zone. Let's make sure I corrected. Okay, I'm all teams. I hate to do that. And then all of a sudden, oh, it's auto drafted. No, we don't do auto draft here. Even that'd be too easy for me. Jeez Louise. Let's start the draft up, and the Saints are on the clock. And the Saints, the first conversation that people are going to bring up is quarterback. At the end of the day, is this team a quarterback away from being a championship team? No. Redler didn't play great this week. I get that, and you're going to see Shuck at some point. I still think, though, that this is a roster that needs a lot of help, not just a quarterback. Their defense is a mess. Their offensive line is still a little bit suspect here and there, and they're dealing with injuries, Fuaga and stuff like that. Their interior offensive line's not been great this year. I really am looking at this whole team, and the defense side of the ball has got to get better. They got to get more pass rush on the quarterback. They're just not getting after the quarterback consistently enough. And that is why I'm going to do something a little bit different. And I'm going to trade this pick with the New Orleans Saints. The team I'm coming up with here is going to be the New York Jets, my favorite team. We are moving up for a quarterback. Justin Fields is injured, and Tyrod Taylor, he got it together after that pick six in the second half when it mattered. Long term, though, we need a quarterback. I am coming up here with that number 3 overall pick. They don't have a ton of draft capital to play with. I am going, in this case scenario, too, for the Saints, I'm looking at this and saying to myself, I'm going to take whatever the heck I can. I'm going to take a second rounder and a second rounder next year from the Jets to move up these 2 spots with the Saints, because I didn't want to move back further. And while you say you still might be able to get a first round pick next year, and that's very possible, at the same time, it is always tricky when you're counting in trades and stuff like that. So I'm going to force this through for the Jets, and we are going to be moving up, yes, for a quarterback. I am going to be taking a quarterback that right now has not faced the competition at the moment that I feel like he is the number 1 overall pick yet. But the way he has played and the way he looks out there is incredible. Dante Moore from Oregon. I'm a Ducks fan, so yes, there's a little bit of bias here. He's been amazing, and he just passes the eye test. When you're watching Dante Moore, you're like, this guy looks like an NFL quarterback. I think he could tighten up his spiral a little bit, but he's been super accurate with the football. I think his pocket presence has been extremely well. That Oregon Ducks offensive line does him some help too. I mean, Isaiah World on that offensive line is probably going to be a first-round pick we're going to put in this mock draft. but Moore has been more than what I thought he was going to be coming over here and really delivered. It is just too early. And you look at the defenses they faces, Oklahoma State, Oregon State. But with that being said, I'm also a Ducks fan. You clearly can tell I love the color green. I like Michigan State, Oregon, and the Jets. I think Moore, if he does keep playing like this, though, we're going to start talking about this guy in the top 5. And it wouldn't be shocking if he already is starting to get projected in the top 5. I'm just going for it, man. We get ahead, going crazy with this. I still have Drew Aller as the top dog at the moment. He hasn't faced anybody really yet anyway. They got more challenging opponents coming up. I'm going with it. I'm going Dante Moore from Oregon. And from one of my favorite teams to the next, right? On to the G-Men here at number 2. And for the Giants, I am looking at this one and saying to myself, this team is a little bit of a disaster in many ways. And they're going to have new coaching staff. They're probably going to have a new GM, Shane and Dable. They're gone. At this point, it's over. So fully expect a new regime coming in. And with that being said, I still don't throw out quarterback. We need to see what Jackson Dart looks like. I'm not going to go that way at the moment, but if there is a new regime and they see a quarterback that they love, like, don't throw that off the table. Right now, though, I'm not gonna go that route. I just think it's a little too early to do something like that. I'm gonna stick with the theme here, and I'm gonna go with an offensive tackle. As much as I love guys like Caleb Downs, I think he'd be an amazing impact on defense. Their safety room is more of a strength of this football team. And you can use Downs a multitude of rounds. I get that. But for me, I'm just going to go grab one of my top dogs here, Francis Mauigoa from Miami, the Hurricane. He's been fantastic, and he's a plug-and-play right tackle for them, and it's something that they need. And going on here to the Saints, and after the trade down, I'm going to get the same player that I would have taken at number 1. That's going to be Rueben Bain Jr. from Miami, the Hurricane. He has been an absolute hurricane off the edge. That guy is unbelievable. He's got some crazy explosiveness and just ability to get after the passer. He's not the most bendy guy, but he's got immense power profile. And the dude is going to be a dynamic duo in there with Grenderson. And when eventually Chase Young gets back, that'll be a nice little combination. They got to get more pressure on the quarterback. It has been a problem for this football team for a minute now. So let's go ahead and fix that situation once and for all. And the Titans are probably like, no, why did you take Rueben Bain Jr.? We wanted him. And yes, I would have taken him 100%. Like, they need pass rush too. And I'm still not against taking a pass rusher here. Now, with that being said, who's my next top player available on the board? I would, in terms of what their needs are at the moment, I would really consider a Jordan Tyson at this point. I still think edge rusher, though, like, has to be the play here. They really need a pass rusher. I'm a big fan of David Bailey. I'm not going to lie. And this is another area where I think to myself, the Browns at number 5, could a team jump up for a quarterback in front of them? Especially a team that might be in the same division, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're saying, you know what? We're done with this whole experiment thing. Aaron Rodgers has not looked amazing. They haven't been able to really run the ball that much either. Rodgers, though, has missed a lot of throws. Like, he missed not a ton of throws versus New England that were open, and he missed them just generally. So I'm going to make this trade with the Titans. They said themselves, hey, we got a lot of needs. This is a football team that has plenty of holes on it that we can fill for the long haul. Pittsburgh saying to themselves, we're trying to win right now. And look at all the draft picks that they have. Okay, so we can afford to give up some of these picks. It's going to cost a lot, okay? It's going to be a first rounder, a second rounder, a first rounder next year. It's a big package, something the Steelers have not done in a hot minute. And I don't expect them to do something like this, but you just never know until you never know. And with that, I'm going to force this trade through. It might cost more than this. When you're moving up this amount, it might be second rounder next year as well. I'm just making this very easy for myself because I don't want to get too complicated into the numbers and the lines and stuff like that. But we are coming up for a quarterback. Which quarterback is the question? Now you have a tough conversation between Fernando Mendoza and LaNorris Sellers. Do you go for that sky high ceiling where the skyscrapers are all through the roof with LaNorris Sellers? Mendoza has looked fantastic through the season thus far, too, from Indiana. He looks like a Drake May type of player. And Drake May's looked great this year, speaking of which. it is a tough one, but I'm going to go with Mendoza. I feel like he's a little bit of a safer prospect. And when you're moving up this high, not to say that he's going to be somebody that has a really low floor, but to me, or anything like that, or a low ceiling, I still think he could be a very, very good quarterback. We're going to go ahead and select Drew Aller from Penn State. I hit you on that one, didn't I? I was trying to lead everything up, but I'm like, nope. I'm going to get him right at the very end on this one. I'm going Drew Aller. Gotcha. I love Mendoza. He's going to come off the board here in just a second. And I like LaNorris Sellers too, but I'm still high on Drew Aller. I think he is just being a little underrated. Plus, it's close to home. I mean, it's not super, close or nothing like that, but hey, it's within range. And I think that you go ahead and get yourself a quarterback that's got a monster rocket arm. He's going to be basically the exact opposite of what you got in Kenny Pickett. I think Aller is going to prove to everybody this season that this dude is the truth and the guy that can be a top quarterback in the NFL. On to the Browns here. We are going to be taking a quarterback. And the reasoning for this is their defense is unbelievable. I mean, their defensive line might be the best in football. The Green Bay Packers have a great offensive line, too. That's the thing. But that defensive line made the Green Bay Packers look like a bottom 5 offensive line. They were wreaking havoc everywhere. They're trying to stop Myles Garrett, but everybody else was just eating and feasting. So it's like, oh man, it's brutal to watch. But with Cleveland, I'm going to take a quarterback. This quarterback class after this week just got a little bit better. I'm not going to lie. It got a little bit better. And for the Browns, we are going to go ahead and do you go with like maybe a Joe Flacco, but a young Joe Flacco, or do you go with that upside of LaNorris Sellers? Browns fans, you can make that conversation very, very easily on what you should do, what you shouldn't do. But we're going to go ahead and take the hot man after this week. Fernando Mendoza was in control of that offense. And as a Hoosier alumni, okay, dude, we've got some beasts across the offense and the defense side of the ball. It was just incredible to watch. And of course, you got Waffle House, and I think Amari Cooper is underrated out there. That dude's a stud. Oh my gosh. The offensive line was amazing versus Illinois' defensive line. Made them look like nothing. They weren't getting pressure on Mendoza the entire game, really. And then the defense, speaking of pressure, Mario Landino. Oh my gosh. Watch out for that guy next year. Whoo, that dude is insane. Landino was just wreaking havoc all around that. But let's get back here. Let's hone back ourselves in. We got the Raiders. Okay, so here's a little recap. It's been an interesting little board out here so far. You got Dante Moore, Drew Aller, Mendoza. There's going to be more quarterbacks that come off the board very, very soon. Now, with the Raiders, I would love to trade down. At the same time, you don't really have, maybe somebody would jump up with the Panthers, but Bryce Young played well this week, and I don't really see another team at the moment jumping up. Maybe the Rams here soon want to jump up in front of one of these teams, possibly. But for right now, it's still a little bit early, so I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm simply just taking the best player available. Caleb Downs is just too good not to take at this point for the Raiders, who need everything, really. I mean, they need trenches are their biggest need. The offensive line is so bad, and that's why it's tempting to just take an offensive lineman, whether it's like a Spencer Fanu or whatever offensive lineman. They really need interior help right now. And yes, JPJ is out at the moment, which sucks, but they need help so bad on that offensive line. The defensive interior needs more help too. Like, they've just got so many voids. I'm going to take Caleb Downs, though, here. It just makes the most sense for me to get a guy that is a blue-chip player that could be a top 5 safety in the NFL and give them a huge impact in their secondary, which has also not been good. So let's go and take Caleb Downs. I get it. It's not their biggest need at the moment, but at the same time, they just need good football players. They need help out Geno Smith on that offensive line. It's probably an Ashton Genty. People are going to say, oh, Ashton Genty, he's not very good. He's amazing. He just doesn't have any chance. When you get hit right at the line of scrimmage or 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage, it's hard to do anything. I don't care if you're freaking Barry Sanders. You're not going to be able to do a whole ton. That's how bad the offensive line has been this week. And that's a testament to how good Genty is, that they're not like the worst running attack in the NFL. They're just one of the worst because their offensive line's that bad. On to the Bengals here. Speaking of which, their run game, I think, is the worst in the NFL statistically wise. Well, and the reasoning for that, their offensive line is horrific as well. You got two, bad back-to-back offensive line situations here. I'm going to go take the best available offensive lineman. You can make the argument for a couple of these guys here, but I'm going to go select in Spencer Vanu, whether he moves inside the guard or plays right tackle for them. Now, you got Amarius Mims, who's your right tackle. Fanu, you'd probably move in a guard in this case scenario, which I'm fine with. To be honest, I have no problem with that. They need to improve it. I'm just doing it here. I think they're going to have a new coaching staff after this year as well. On to the Carolina Panthers. And with the Panthers, I would say that I'm still going to go pass rush here. I know it's a bit of a cop out, and we're seeing Nick Scourton come along, which is good, but I still think pass rush ultimately is something this team can get better at. Do we go with a little bit more of a floor with Keldrick Folk in the run game, or do we go with more of a pure pass rusher in David Bailey? I'm going David Bailey, right? I say, hey, let's go and get more pure pass rush. I'm going to go ahead and take David Bailey from Texas Tech. This dude is a monster. Had another sack here this week versus Utah. He's unstoppable. He is literally like Will McDonald kind of S type of prospect. He is just going to get pressure all day on the quarterback and give this Carolina Panthers team some much needed juice off the edge. On to the Dolphins at number 9. They know a lot about juice, but they don't have any interior defense line help. They need offensive line help. They can't protect Tua. And they could even consider a quarterback here at this number 9 overall pick. Like, it would not shock me if the Dolphins said, you know what, we're going to draft a quarterback and develop him for Tua for a couple of seasons. It's not like they can get off of Tua's contract anytime soon. But with that being said, that's something to consider. I do think that Grant will get going at some point. So I'm going to invest in the secondary and continue a theme with Jamon McCoy. It just makes too much sense for me. They need secondary help so bad. I think McCoy's a top 5 player in the draft class. If it weren't for the injury, I would be mocking him in the top 5 consistently. The dude is a stud, and they clearly need help. Speaking of who needs secondary help, the Dallas Cowboys, their secondary, it's horrific as well. Gosh, you see these runs of these teams, man, where it's like we got offensive line troubles up here. You got defensive line troubles over here. And now you got secondary troubles with these teams. And with the Cowboys, we are going secondary. We are going to be taking a corner. We're going to be taking a guy that I like a lot. Now, Mansour Delane has been fantastic. I think he is certainly in this conversation. And I wouldn't be shocked if he starts getting mock top 10. But I'm going to go with my guy, Keith Abney, the second from Arizona State. The dude is so sticky in man coverage. And one of the best corner cover, pure man coverage dudes, one-on-one guys in the draft. I can't fault him for a whole ton of things. He's a solid zone defender as well. Like, I don't see him struggling in the zone. I think he can read the eyes of quarterbacks. I think Abney's the best cornerback. You can make the argument behind Jamon McCoy in the draft. And you can even say he's right there with McCoy. I think McCoy's got a little more size on him. That's why I give him a bit of an edge there. But Abney's a very solid athlete, very fluid athlete. So go ahead and improve the secondary for the Cowboys. I do think he's a top 10 player in the class. New England at number 11. Can't wait for Gonzo to get back for them. And this one, though, here for the New England Patriots, I think you got to look at probably still adding a number 1 wide receiver, even though it's not the horrific thing at this point. But I do think that they still need to add a wide receiver, and that's the way I'm going to go. Whoops, no, wrong button there. I'm going to take Jordan Tyson right here. Who's Tyson me in my mind to take him? He's too good of an opportunity. New England Patriots should have won that game. And hold on a second. Okay, so here's a football. New England, take note. You don't let this thing go. Don't give it to the other team. Even if you're betting against yourself, which it seemed like you guys were trying to give the Pittsburgh Steelers the win now. Hold on to the football, okay? Like, hug it, bear hug it, do whatever the heck you got to do. But, oh my gosh, that was insane. The amount of fumbles in that game. Everybody wanted to get in the action. I almost felt like they were betting against them. Like, hey, we got big stakes on this one. We can't let ourselves win. Speaking of which, do not gamble, okay? Unless you do it for fun. But if you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to be a millionaire because I know how to bet of everybody else, the likelihood is you're not going to be able to do it. I see all these gambling sponsorships, and I'm like, geez Louise. I'm telling you right now, I promise to you, there will never be gambling sponsorships on this channel. No way. I'm not doing it. Okay, we're getting serious out here. Oh my gosh. Geez, but I'm just saying, like, if you do it for fun and it's just a little thing on the side, I get it. Everybody's got hobbies and stuff like that. But if you think you're going to get rich or anything like that, just invest your money in the stock market. It's what you really, in my opinion, you should do. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm gonna be done with that. We're not calling any serious out here, but I just think gambling's a joke nowadays. It really is. It's everywhere out in the market. It gotta go bet.com. I'll give you $200 if you bet 5 whatever, things like this. I don't know. I think it's crazy. On to the Vikings, though. Let's get a little less serious. And we're getting into the mock draft again. And with the Minnesota Vikings, I would say that the biggest areas of need for the Minnesota Vikings right now would just be to invest in areas that going into the future, they're getting older at right now. They've got a good football team. They get pass rush after the quarterback. Their secondary is good. They're getting a little bit older maybe in the back end, but they've got some young guys developing there. So I just think we're going to invest some more into either a linebacker or a defensive tackle. And in this case scenario, I'm going to take The defensive tackle that I have number 1 on my board right now, it's going to be Caleb Banks, the Florida interior defensive lineman. Peter Woods, I have not seen make a whole ton of plays this year, and I still think Peter Woods is amazing, and Peter Woods is probably a little bit of a safer option if you want to go that route, but I think Banks is the most dynamic player, arguably, on this interior defense line out of any of these guys here. He is the dude that I would not want to go. If you had to tell me you have to block one of these guys, who would you not want to block? It would be Caleb Banks. He is the toughest block in the draft class at D tackle. And if you let him develop behind Jonathan Allen and Javon Hargrave for a season, I just think that makes a lot of sense. On to the Houston Texans here, who also need interior defense line for the future, but they also need offensive line, and it's a problem. And we're going to go take a tackle. I don't care who, that they've invested and everything like that. We're going to go back to the trenches here, and I'm going to take one of these offensive linemen. I think Isaiah World is in this conversation. I think you're talking about Trevor Gooseby. I mean, I still like Caleb Lomu. I like Drew Shelton. There's a lot of good tackles, though. I'm going to go ahead and snag a guy who has played excellent through this season thus far, Isaiah World. And then moving on to the Los Angeles Rams here. Man, the block field goals. It's unbelievable. They should have won that game, in my opinion. Now, with this pick, though, the areas that I'd be looking at possibly would be a taller corner, somebody that can be a little more physical. Like, their secondary is really good, and their defensive line's amazing. They could use a taller, more physical corner, right? Those guys like the A.J. Browns of the world. I mean, it's A.J. Brown. He's going to moss a lot of people, but that is definitely something, a little bit of a weakness. Right tackle, certainly something we could look at. But I am going to go ahead and take the quarterback of the future. Matthew Stafford actually had a bit of a down game in this one, in my opinion. He still looks good. However, I thought he had some moments he could have hit some more throws and stuff like that. We're going to take a developmental quarterback with upside, LaNorris Sellers from South Carolina University, the Gamecocks. He's going to be able to sit and develop and learn behind Matthew Stafford for a season or two. I just think it makes sense for LaNorris Sellers, a young player that has a ton of upside, that if you let him sit and you let him develop, this would be a dream scenario, a dream fit with his rocket arm to learn behind another rocket arm in Matthew Stafford. But moving on now to the Titans on the clock after a massive trade down. And you know what? I'm okay with that because the player I would have considered taking there is still available. And the guy is going to be Keldrick Falk from Auburn. He's going to be a really solid pass rusher and a very good run defender. He just has that game with the NFL size. He has the traits you look for. I don't know if he's going to be the most dynamic pass rusher in the NFL. I think he can work on that and continue to get better. But ultimately, I think you're getting a very high floor prospect that makes a lot of sense in like the 10 to 15 range to get a player that I feel very, very good about. Kind of like Mikael Williams. He's just a dude that I think will be a very solid football player. I just don't see a whole ton of bust potential barring a major injury with Falk. And then speaking of Mikael Williams, he's played amazing so far this season. The Bears here at number 16 had a great week. And it just goes to show you, when you protect Caleb Williams, this team can be very good. The defense stepped up in a major way. And Tremaine Edmonds had 2 interceptions. So I know I keep talking about replacing him and stuff. So this week, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go a little bit of a different route. I still think they could use some more pass rush, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to add another player into the fold. There's some good ones on the board. We're going to go with LT Overton from Alabama, a great pass rusher that knows how to use his hands and consistently get off blocks. He's super strong at the point of attack. He isn't the most dynamic and athletic, so don't expect like huge sack numbers. However, he's a dude that can move inside out and rotation. Just makes a lot of sense for them on their defense line. He can play a little inside and out versatility, more pass rush in there with Deo Dengbo for the long haul. And plus Austin Booker. I think those would be your 3 guys for the future because Montez Sweat, at some point, they're probably going to try to get a little cheaper. On to the Seattle Seahawks here. They don't have a defensive line problem. They get plenty of pressure on the quarterback, so we're not going there. We need to improve the offensive line still. The offensive line, in my opinion, is still a big problem for them. They can't really get a whole ton of lanes for K9 or Charbonnet, so let's improve that. Let's go get a big bully, Trevor Gooseby, one of the stronger offensive linemen in this class. He has right tackle, left tackle versatility. Go stick him over there, right tackle, and I feel like he can be a nice plug-and-play option for them. The Cardinals here at number 18. Well, the Cardinals, they could really still use more like edge rush help. I think that's going to be, other than Sweat. Sweat's been really good. He also got a nice sack from like playing on the interior this week too, from what I saw. But he was getting pressure. It's still, besides that, it's a little thin out there. Their interior defense line's great. Calais Campbell is still unbelievable. It's crazy. I do think that I'm going to look at a right tackle of the future, though, here as well, or a wide receiver. Those are the two areas I still lean towards. I think they need to invest in the offense. In this case scenario, I'm going to go invest in the wide receiver position because their wide receiver group has been just okay. And even Marvin Harrison's had some drops here and there and, played okay. He's been, he's still a good wide receiver. Is he as good as we thought he was going to be as a number 4 overall pick or anything like that? Maybe not at the moment. So that's why I'm going to go at it. Mekhi Lemon here from USC. I think he is an exceptional route runner that can give them another dynamic weapon that can play in the slot and be their Amon-Ra St. Brown for this football team. Now we go on to the Denver Broncos at number 19 overall. And the Denver Broncos, well, they could maybe use some more help on offense as well. I mean, I'll just be real. Like their offense, they still need a little more firepower there. So could we add in either another tight end like a Kenyon Sadiq into this offense? That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Maybe add a dynamic threat here with Kenyon Sadiq, who is one of the most dynamic players in college football. This guy consistently wins. He had another win this week up the seams. He just blows by linebackers. You can't cover him as a safety. He's too big for those guys too. So I'm going to go get Kenyon Sadiq to help out Bo Nix on the offense a little bit more. Commanders, number 20. They've got a great run game. Can they put it together and pass protect a little more consistently on Jay Daniels? Absolutely. Like that's something that they still need to consider, and offensive lines never ruling that out. But for me, I'm going to continue to invest in the pass rush. It's the lazy thing to do. I get it, but it's the thing they need to do. Their pass rush is just not good enough right now. TJ Parker, I'm a little lower on TJ Parker. I'm not been super impressed with what I've seen of him. I'm going to go get Cassius Howell from Texas A&M. I'm higher on Howell than I am in Parker. Parker to me is more of a back end of the first, second round type of pick. I think Howell is he's got that dog in him, man. The dude is consistently, whether it's in the run game, he's got long enough arms to make an impact there. He's built up a little bit more than what he was over at Bowling Green, and that guy can win off the edge. Let's go on to the Browns. They don't need pass rush. They got pass rush for days, but you know what? Peter Woods is still available. I'm thinking about it. I'm not going to lie. I'm definitely thinking about it. He's at a drop just for this week. It's going to be a little bit of an overvalue on this, but he just haven't seen him making a whole ton of plays this year. So defensive tackle to a position that sometimes they can drop down the board a little bit more too. With this pick, I remember we got a quarterback with their first one. We drafted Mendoza, we drafted Mendoza, right? Let me make sure. Yeah, Mendoza from Hoosiers Nation. Let's go. I can't believe it. But with this one here, I am going to be taking a look at offensive line, and we're going to continue to invest in that. And the guy that I'm going to take here is going to be down the board. And I know Caleb Lomu had a bit of a, up and down week. I have not watched the film on Lomu, but I saw that, he got beat a couple of times. So in that game, and that's something where that we'll have to just continue to evaluate that after the season. For me, though, Lomu still a very good player and somebody that I feel confident taking in the first round. Very good athlete. Just needs to get a little bit stronger still. On to the Detroit Lions here at number 22 overall. The Detroit Lions play tonight, so we'll see how that goes. For the time being, though, I want to stick to what the needs were from last week, and for me, that is continuing to invest in the defensive line and the trenches, okay? The trenches, that's just where it's at. I'm going to go ahead and TJ Parker here. This is where the value starts to make a little bit more sense for me with TJ Parker. He still has the amazing Batman power. He could bull rush some dudes. But besides that, can he win the edge all the time? No, he doesn't really have that type of bend or anything. But he certainly can pop you and knock you down. And when you pair him up with Aiden Hutchinson, I'm cool with that. We need more pass rush, so let's go and add him into the fold. 49ers, the MVP's been Robert Saleh. Oh, man, as a Jets fan, trust me, I knew this was going to happen. And Robert Saleh comes right in here and makes us a top 5 defense. This just is what it is. Mikael Williams looks like an absolute beast already, making plays in the run game and in the pass game. Of course, you got Nick Bosa. All around, they've been very, very good. Would that stop me from drafting another interior defensive lineman, though? Even though they've got some young talent there, I'm doing it. I'm taking Peter Woods. It's just a BPA situation. Their offensive line, though, is their biggest need. It's tough for me because it really is. I can't pass up on Connor Lew either. Lew is a very good football player. I think we're going to go that route because their interior offensive line has not been good this season. They're not getting much push in the run game. I think Lew can overhaul that. So I'm going to talk myself into Connor Lew. As much as Peter Wood's still staring at me, this is where the fall is going to stop, though. Chris Ballard, as much as people are going to hate on Chris Ballard, I think he's a good GM. And they do a good job of finding homegrown talent. that interior defense line is getting a bit older. So let's go ahead and invest in that for the future with Peter Woods, who can sit and be a rotational player behind Buck and Grover. It just makes, I think, a lot of sense for them. And they do need more pass rush still. Like, their pass rush has been, if I had to play in the weak spot on their team, that's kind of been the thing. They've had to blitz a little bit more, get creative with some things. Linebackers also need for them, and I could see them going after a CJ Allen, a top linebacker still available at this point too. So that could be something to go out there. Secondary's been really good though. On to the Rams here, who are back on the clock. Remember the first one, we got a quarterback. We took that upside with LaNorris Sellers. Now let's be a little more practical. Okay, I'll calm down here. Let's be more practical and get ourselves a tackle of the future, somebody to protect LaNorris Sellers and Matthew Stafford for the time being. Still some very good tackles on the board. I like Drew Shelton. You can make the argument, well, can he play right tackle? I get that. If you want to go with more of a true right tackle, well, there's not really a whole ton at this point. So I'm just going to take Drew Shelton, the guy that I really like from Penn State, a dude that has very good hand usage. I think he's got good pop on contact, and he's a good athlete as well. He's not quite the athlete that Spencer Fanu or Caleb Lomu are, but he's definitely in that conversation. He's a very good athlete and very nimble on his feet. So let's go ahead and surround your quarterbacks with a good, solid 1-2 punch at the tackle position with them on Aldrich Jackson. Kansas City Chiefs, who looked pretty solid last night versus the Giants. This is the Giants, but nonetheless, they were getting after them. I think we're going to go ahead and change it up from going defense. Let's go on the offense side of the ball. This is going to be where the first running back comes off the board. It's going to be Jeremiah Love here, who has been, solid this season. Nothing crazy. They've also had some tough tests. They've had Texas A&M. They've had Miami. So those are two teams that are good defensive fronts that were able to stop him. But first Purdue, of course, he got going because it's Purdue. It is what everybody that's good goes transfers. That's just the way it is with Purdue Boilermakers. But any which way, I'm going to go ahead and take Air Love here and solidify that running back room because they've got a good offensive line to get push. They just don't really have consistency in their running back. Isaiah Pacheco's back and everything, and he was solid, and Hunt's been good and everything like that. But ultimately, could they use a feature back, somebody that could be 1,000-yard runner for them? Yeah, I think so. Okay, maybe it's something that Veach says, you know what, we learned our lesson. We're not taking the first-round running back. I get it, and that's definitely a possibility. It's not like it's a top need for this football team to be able to win. They still have decent enough rushing stats, and Mahomes is pretty good on his legs this year, too. Anyway, that's kind of the way I'm going to go. Jeremiah Love, Air Love, let's lock it in. But moving on to the Dallas Cowboys here. Remember, first pick, we got to have secondary. So it's the secondary so bad. And their pass rush has not been amazing, and they could continue to prove. They've got some young guys out there. But ultimately, I think it's either safety here or it's another edge rusher. And we're going to go edge rusher. I think we certainly could look at either option, though. Like their secondary, we could double dip that. They need more pass rush. Ezraku, I think, will get going at some point. I mean, he did make a couple of plays in this past one. Had one where he was a free blitzer and stuff like that. Ultimately, they need to continue to add more pass rush into the room. I'm going to add in Joshua Josephs from Tennessee. Kind of in a way, he's a similar player to Donovan Ezraku. Not like insane athletic profile or nothing. He's a good athlete. He's got long arms. He can play in the run game. He's sneaky in terms of, for his size. He can play well in the run game and hold his own, just like Ezraku can. But Joseph's going to get more pass rush, and he was excellent versus Georgia. So, and I think if they would have won that game, we would be all about, oh, Joshua Joseph, man, this guy, ooh, yeah, who's this guy? He was really good. So I'm taking him here. I'm going to go ahead and add more pass rush there to that defense, which their defense is the number one need. Chargers, the Bolts at number 28 overall. I think we're going to add more defensive line here too. I'm going to change it up this week. I'm going to go ahead and take, since all the pass rushers have kind of gone off the board, there's still some good ones on the board and whatnot. But I'm going to go ahead and take some more help on the defense. I'm going to go with Christian Miller from Georgia, who's been very, very solid. He's a stout run defender. And the Chargers have struggled a little bit with run defense this season. And that's what I'm going to do. I mean, Deshaun Hand's been pretty good. I've seen him make quite a few plays and whatnot. Overall, though, I think they need some more youth and some more help on that interior going forward. They've just lost a lot there. Puna Ford and whatnot was a big loss for them. On to the Bucs here. Well, their defensive interior is not a problem here. Now, pass rush wise, they blitz all night. That's what they did versus the Jets again. They're just like, hey, Todd Bowles like, I don't care. We're just gonna go for it. And they can leave their corners on an island in many ways. Hey, Ben Morrison too. I'm excited to see more of Ben Morrison. Their cornerback room, Jamel Dean on that pick six. I'm gonna invest in continuing. The offensive line is something I'm really considering about. They've invested quite a bit. I'm not gonna go offensive line. You still got to wait until Tristan Wirfs gets back. Like that's key. I'm going to go in, and I will say, too, Ibuka is a number one wide receiver. They got two number, even though it sucks that Mike Evans got a little injured and got the hamstring. So there's that. Even Sauce Gardner got injured in that game, too. So both teams were kind of reeling a little bit. I'm going to continue the theme, though, and go with a linebacker for this football team. And I'm going to take, you could make the argument Arvell Reese is the top dog at this point. And Reese, actually, Reese would make a lot of sense in Todd Bowles' scheme, like with his ability to be a dynamic blitzer as well. I mean, not that Allen can't. I'm going to go with Reese. We're going to chat it up. Let's go. Arvell Reese. This guy is a freak. He is a freak. Sonny Styles is amazing, too. And it's the best linebacking core in college football. They are so good. I'm going to go ahead and snag him, though. I think he's worth that pick. They're at 29 overall. Get that future for them. And Levante David, who's still been amazing. On to the Baltimore Ravens here. And we're going to continue to add more pass rush here. It's either guard or pass rush. I could see them maybe trying to, draft Caden Proctor, move him inside the guard. Actually, it's not a bad idea. It's not something I've done either. So we could do that. That definitely makes a lot of sense. I also think defense line is something they could look at. But we're going to change it up here, and something I haven't done because they could go in defense line. I'm going to add in a offensive tackle here, Caden Proctor, who I think can move into guard for them and help that guard position, which has been the one weakness on their offensive line, I would say. So Falalele has been shaky. He was shaky, though, at the beginning of last season, and then got better. Maybe he does the same thing this year. I want to continue to watch that spot, but it has been a little bit of a sore spot for them. On to Buffalo Bills here. I also think guard is certainly in play for them, too. Like, can you give them out what they need for the future? Guard is something. They still need a little more help, like, as stopping the run. Linebacker of the future would make a lot of sense. You got Dorian Williams. Like, Terrell Bernard's been really good again this year. He's been fantastic as well. Been better in coverage, too, this year, I feel like. Linebacker, I could see them going after a linebacker. And CJ Allen is a first-round prospect, in my opinion. So maybe we'll change it up from guard. Let's go ahead and take CJ Allen. I think that's something. Safety is also a need, though, too. I think safety is a big need for them. But, well, yeah, let's go and get CJ Allen. I just think like he's kind of the best player available at this point. I think this linebacking class is really, really good. So we're going to go take CJ Allen for the Buffalo Bills because Matt Milano is getting a little bit older, and obviously with injuries and stuff like that, contract year. You pair Bernard up with Williams. Like, they use three linebackers, too, out there. So it's not like Williams is just going to hit the bench and do nothing. You now have Allen, Bernard, and Williams as your kind of grouping of three there for your duo, your triple duo. On to the Eagles, final pick. I'm going to go ahead and add a pass rusher. That's one thing I will say with the Eagles. Like, their interior, it's been unbelievable. And, Jordan Davis, if you lined him up and you played him versus the Raiders offensive line, I bet Jordan Davis would, look like a Hall of Fame running back. Like, that's how bad the Raiders defensive line has been right now at stopping the run. Any which way. Or, in terms of their defensive line, it's just not been good in general, except for Max Crosby. It's a Max Crosby, and then that's about it. But Jordan Davis, oh, my gosh. Jeez Louise, that guy is so freaking fast. You kind of forget how, he's the dude that kind of destroyed the combine in general. But going back to this year and the draft itself, I am going to continue taking a guy with R. Mason Thomas, somebody with some speed that fits the Fangio style of edge rusher for them. And he's a little bit of a developmental project. Continue to get more powerful is going to be critical for Mason Thomas, but he is a guy that has that burst. He has that speed. He can drop back into coverage and do things, with that ability to get creative and whatnot. So there's our first round, our mock draft with a couple of trades, right? And a little bit of a shockers with some heres and theres. Some quarterbacks that didn't go, of course. There's still some quarterbacks to watch out for. And as I said before, this quarterback class looking a little bit better after this week. Now you have Mendoza, who's maybe cemented himself as a top 5 pick. Dante Moore is in that conversation very easily. Is it a little bit of an overreaction? Yes. But as a Jets fan, as an Oregon fan, there's a little bit of that going on there. I love Drew Aller still, and I think that that was a wild move. I'm curious to see what Steelers fans think of that. Anyway, you got LaNorris Sellers. I'm still lower on Garrett Nussmeier, so people are going to comment, well, where's Garrett Nussmeier? Why is Nussmeier not in the first round? I get it. Nussmeier probably will go in the first round. I still just want to see a little bit more of Nussmeier, even though he has faced some tough teams and everything like that. But at the same time, it kind of is what it is. One thing I will say is Mansour Delane should probably be in the first round. So if I had to mock myself, I would be argumentative about where the heck is Mansour Delane, because that dude's a stud and he should probably be in the first round. He's definitely a top 32 type of player in this draft class at the moment. So hey, it is what it is. We're just trying to be, having some fun. Proctor is a little bit of a reach there, but projecting him inside the guard, that's kind of where I have him here for the Baltimore Ravens. That's going to do it, though, for the mock draft. Let me know what you think. Agree or disagree. Trying to throw in some some fun ones in there. The quarterback position is kind of wild. But I hope you guys have a really cool day. Let's go.